On one of Jada Pinkett-Smith's most recent Red Table Talk episodes, titled Alopecia, The Devastating Impact, she briefly discussed the incident that happened at the 2022 Oscars regarding her husband, actor Will Smith, and comedian Chris Rock. And guess what? That's exactly how we're about to keep it brief. That's about all you're going to get from me regarding the slap. Not giving my opinion on anything, because what we're here to talk about is the actual episode about alopecia. And I want to talk about what I learned from that episode regarding the condition, a gained perspective I have, and some things that were not mentioned. So while I talk about it, I'm going to be doing my makeup, getting myself together to actually shoot another video for you all that will be out sometime this week. So come on and join the discussion with me, and y'all get ready with me. Okay, you all. So, okay, y'all. What had happened was, while I was shooting this Get Ready With Me, I was having some technical difficulties. My lighting was off. It was going in and out. My timing was off with how I wanted to present the information and do my makeup at the same time, amongst some other things was going on. And come to find out why my lighting was messed up is because my ISO was set on automatic instead of manual. And I didn't even catch that till it was pretty much almost to the end of the video. And then eventually I kind of just stopped talking and I was like, I'm just going to do a voiceover. So that is what you all going to get from me today regarding this Get Ready With Me. So let's get into the video. All right. Okay, so on the episode of Red Table Talk regarding alopecia, they mostly discussed during this episode more so about the mental effects alopecia has on the individuals who have the condition, but they did also share some facts regarding the condition, and I'm gonna speak on that. So currently 147 million people live with alopecia, and alopecia by definition is a medical word that refers to hair loss generally. So just general hair loss is alopecia. So there are many different types of alopecia, but in this particular video, I'm going to talk about the four that they talked about on the Red Table Talk, and then towards the end of the video I'm gonna specifically go into two of them because they're more prevalent within Black women. So Jada Pinkett-Smith, as you may know now, is one currently lives with alopecia, and I believe I can't remember the date that she said she started to notice the symptoms, but she said she did start seeing a scar at the top of her head and noticed that. I would say I was not aware Jada Pinkett had alopecia. And it's crazy because I actually do follow her on social media, and I do watch Red Table Talk here and there, depending on what the episode is about. So when it came down to the whole Oscar situation, I just thought, I didn't think much of it, but until people said she had alopecia, because I really thought she cut her hair for style. I could have sworn I seen a video where she said she cut her hair because Willow did it and Willow dared her or something to that effect. I guess I'm wrong, but I did not know of her condition until the night of the Oscars. And they talk about in the episode how there's a lot of shame around alopecia. And to start it off, they go into a story regarding a young lady named Rio. She was a 12-year-old girl who was diagnosed with alopecia areata. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but she died by suicide. Now, the crazy thing about her story is when she was diagnosed, of course, they tried to seek treatment, tried to work it out, but eventually, that just wasn't working. And she just learned to live with her condition. She live with it. She was fine with it and just said, well, this is part of me. And one of her family members gifted her with a wig, and she would wear that wig. And when school came back around and she wore the wig to school and people found out about her condition, she was severely bullied. She was bullied by her wig, her condition, and unfortunately that really put a mental toll on her, and which ultimately led her to unalive herself. It is really a sad story, really a tearjerker. I don't think I had a dry eye through the whole episode because I couldn't stop thinking about her. Because I will say I never thought about the mental effects it could have on someone. I just never really thought about it. But she did leave behind 2 letters for her family. One of the letters her family has not read yet. And her mom stated that she's not even sure she wants to because it's really nothing else that can be said or done to change it. So, but her mom was really strong to come on there and tell the story. And she was very transparent. She was just very transparent. She answered the questions that were asked. She's really strong for that. And like I said, it was really just sad to hear that those kids were so mean, so cruel, and so evil to that girl, to the point where she just couldn't bear it anymore. And she felt like life wasn't worth living because now they made her feel bad about something she actually had learned to accept. Right? So that's a sad story. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is doing my eyes, putting some shadow on it. Y'all see? So also they one of the next stories was regarding a blogger. She's also a wig designer and she specializes in Afro texture wigs, and her name is Gina Knight, and she was diagnosed with alopecia. Now she was diagnosed with one of the alopecias that I'm gonna go in more in depth with later in the video, because this form affects Black women mostly, and it's called, and I'm gonna try not to butcher it, but it's called Centrifugal Cicatricial Alopecia, and it's also known as CCCA. Now that is what I'm going to call it for the rest of this video, CCCA, because that name is definitely a tongue twister. So Miss Knight, she was actually raised in a foster care home by a white, her foster mom was white. And so up until the age of 8, her foster mom would shave her head or cut her hair real low, probably more than likely because she didn't know what to do with it. And at the age of 8, Gina told her mom that, she didn't want her hair cut anymore. And so that's when she learned how to do her hair. She learned how to do her hair because growing out her hair and having her hair made her feel connected to her Nigerian roots and also to other Black women. So she states how she became very hair obsessed. So, even to the point where she became a wig designer and blog about hair. So when she was diagnosed with CCCA, you can imagine it was very devastating to her because, that was the very thing she felt connected her to her Blackness, especially being raised by white people, coming home seeing nothing but white sisters and brothers. You don't have anyone to connect with in your household. So that really affected her mentally, but she's definitely thriving and just living her life beautifully with her bald head now. And she's learned to accept it, but she had a nice story too. So it was very interesting to learn about that alopecia and to see that it's most prevalent to Black women. And the thing about that, the CCCA, it supposedly is inherited, But there's not a lot of information about it, right? About it. All right, so I came back with the wing on my eyes because y'all, I be trying to do all my makeup, my eye makeup on camera so people can see what I'm doing, but that wing I had to definitely do off camera. Um, so also on the Red Table Talk, they talked to numerous men. I think one of the men was an athlete. They talked to some other men because I think we don't, when it comes to hair, we don't really a lot of times touch on how the men feel, because this is not just a hair loss because you're getting older. This is a hair loss. A lot of them are young and have experienced this since childhood. So they talked about how it affects them as men, and that it affects them mentally just as much as it does the women. Although it is socially accepted for men to have bald head, it's not what they desired or what they thought they would have to deal with. It's one thing to cut your hair for a style, then there's another thing to be forced to have patches in your head and be forced to go bald, having no eyebrows, eyelashes, and all of those things like that. So I will say watching that episode really gave me a game perspective on the mental part of alopecia, because a lot of times, I guess when I think about it, you mostly just focus on the hair loss. It's hair loss, but not really focusing on how that hair loss affects the person mentally. And me never really thinking, oh my God, like that could drive someone to not want to no longer live, just like it did with Rio. Hearing her story was just really sad, and definitely gave me a bigger perspective, because I was one of those people that I see people, I had to know people with alopecia, and I would just tell them to embrace it. And then, but that is definitely easier said than done. I guess because I would see them take so many drastic measures to try to hide the bald spots. And I just used to be, and to me, I'm like, no one's looking at that. Like, no one's looking at your bald spot. But then you got to think about it. It's not about everybody else. It's about how you feel about yourself. Because that holds true to many different things. And although hair is not essential and you don't need it for survival, it's just like for Gina, it's very closely linked to our identity, especially as a Black woman. Like, our hair is our thing, right? And it's also something that makes us feel attractive. A lot of women or people in general may not feel as attractive being bald or having patches in their hair. So having full hair is something that a lot of people aspire to have. All right, y'all. So right now I'm putting on my foundation. And I want to talk about this for a little part too. Now, one thing I had started doing with my foundation is not, and this probably was always supposed to be the process, but I just figured it out. See, I'm fixing my lighting because I didn't want to look white. Because I did a video, Get Ready With Me, a while back that I could not even upload because I was literally white on the camera, and I that was like so much time wasted. So me trying to adjust it. But I don't put foundation under my eyes because that causes a lot of creasing. So I only use the concealer strictly under my eyes, and I start from the outside and I'm blending until it's in. So that's a little tip right there for those who maybe like me. My eyes protrude, so I have a lot of lines and things under my eyes. And it can make you look, with the makeup caking up under it can make you look old. And also when it comes to setting powder, I use it you'll see that I use it very lightly. I don't even let my makeup bake under my eyes, because then I just start looking old and cracky. So let's get into the 4 different types of alopecia that they discussed on the Red Table Talk episode. So the first one is Alopecia Areata, and that one is an autoimmune disease, and it affects 7 million Americans, and it causes rapid hair loss. So that is the type of alopecia that Rio, the young lady that died by suicide, that is the type of hair loss she has. She lost her hair very, very quickly. I think it was a matter of over the summertime. And like I said, when she got back to school, that's when the issue started. So it can start with having circular bald patches, and it also can affect your eyebrows and eyelashes. And I want to say, I believe that Gammy in the episode said that was the type of alopecia that Jada has. She didn't really go into it, but I believe I heard her saying that. So then you have alopecia universalis. That one also is an autoimmune disease, and it affects all body hair, and it usually starts under the age of 30. So then you have these traction alopecia, which is most common for Black women. And this one in general, just to keep it simple, is basically when we lose our edges. And this alopecia is due to tight hairstyles and other damaging hairstyles as well. And this type of alopecia affects 1 in 3 Black women. So when you start losing your edges in the front and in the back, around the crown, and it's thinning out, that is traction alopecia. So then you have CCCA, which is the alopecia that Gina Knight has, and this one is permanent hair loss caused by scars on the scalp, and it's possibly genetic. They're still doing a lot of research regarding CCCA, and it can be made worse by tight hairstyles, relaxers, and dandruff. Now, unlike traction, that it's caused by those things, CCCA is not caused by those things, but it can worsen if you continue to do it if you're diagnosed. And early diagnosis is key for CCCA. So all 4 of those alopecias are believed to be a genetic disposition. All 3 of them except traction alopecia. Traction alopecia is not a genetic disposition. That is something that we actually cause on ourselves and is very much preventable. For alopecia areata, the diagnosis for that one is taken by a biopsy of the scalp, and then they send it to pathologists who study the skin cells under a microscope to determine what is causing the hair loss. So that is one of the most popular ones, the alopecia areata, that affects 7 million Americans. So that one, you can get a biopsy of the scalp, and they can determine whether you have that form of alopecia. I think right now this is where I'm explaining how I do my concealer and not put the foundation under my eyes. So if you see how I did that, how I softly patted it in, you don't want to pat it in too much with your blending brush because it'll soak up all of your concealer. So just softly pat it. All right, so let's get into what they did not discuss on the Red Table Talk. So stats show that almost half of Black women experience some form of hair loss, and there are few doctors who are familiar with Black hairstyling practices. Many women do not seek professional help once they start to lose hair. Certain types of hair losses are genetic, and very little can be done to prevent them. So those are mostly for the autoimmune types of alopecias. So also other types of hair loss, including generalized hair shedding, can be brought on by stress. As we know, stress does a lot to our body, and definitely want to keep it down. So the hormone cortisol, which is actually released during times of stress, if that hormone is too high, it causes hair loss. It can cause hair loss. Also, poor dieting. We all know you got to eat right. You got to get your nutrients in. So if 9 times out of 10 your hair is falling out because you have deficiencies in your nutrients, nutritious deficiencies, right? So also, if you're anemic, you have low levels of vitamin D, and abnormal thyroid hormones can all affect the health of your hair. Underdiagnosis of CCCA. So CCCA is very much widely misunderstood and is undertreated because there is not quite enough information out there regarding it. So the thing about CCCA is that it can mimic traction alopecia. So you really need to have a specialist to be able to make sure that you are being treated properly for the right alopecia. It's an inflammatory type of hair loss, and that it may have some bacteria factors to it. The condition was also recently linked to an increased risk of uterine fibroids in women of color. So women that have uterine fibroids are at a higher risk of having CCCA. So many people believe that CCCA is linked to or synonymous with another condition known as follicular degeneration syndrome. And this particular hair loss condition, when treated very early before follicles have died, can be targeted with a tailored treatment course. So I watched a video by a Dr. Yolanda Lenzy where she briefly discussed hair loss in Black and African American women, some stats and diagnosis and possible treatments. I will actually leave that link in the description because she can give a better insight on some things. So some causes and some ways you can protect yourself from traction alopecia and some other types of hair loss is or prevent further damage is, if caught early, the hair can be rejuvenated. Now, that's for traction. If you have traction alopecia, your hair can be rejuvenated and grown back. Some prescription medications can cause hair loss, so be mindful of your prescription medications. Look at the side effects. It's not saying don't take them, but you may need to reach out to a specialist to see what kind of supplements you need to take with those medications to ensure that to prevent hair loss if possible. Also, make sure that you're receiving your adequate amounts of vitamin B and D vitamins and protein. Styles such as braids, sewing, and microlinks, just to name a few, should not be left in for a long period of time, probably no longer than 6 to 8 weeks. Braids, crochet, and dreadlocks should not be super tight. I have locks in my hair, and one thing I don't like is if my locks are retwisted too tight, but luckily the ladies that do my hair do not retwist my hair too tight, so I am able to keep my edges right now and not get traction alopecia. Although I have had traction alopecia in the past and didn't even know that that's what it was when I was a loose natural, and I used to get braids, and I would go to an African hair shop, and when I tell you, after some weeks my edges would be gone. Luckily they grew back though. So if you have relaxed or dyed hair, please make sure that you go to a professional. If not, please read the instructions and know what you're doing. If you notice any breakage or hair shedding, please just avoid all chemical treatments. Minimize heating styles, hair dryers, and things like that, because it could cause hair loss if you do it too much. Also, ensure that you have a knowledgeable cosmetologist or hairstylist. That is very important. Some of these cosmetologists are just out here to get your money. Make sure that they're providing you knowledge and not just doing styles knowing that your hair is falling out. They should be able to give you some insights on what it is that you need to do to ensure that you're not losing a boatload of hair. Y'all see how I messed that up? I was doing the most. I was trying to do something. I don't know what I was doing, but anywho, I gotta put that okay, so after you put the setting spray on, pat it in. I didn't used to do that, but I started doing it because that's what Jackie Anna said to do. So I start patting it in, and it works. It does help. It looks a little weird at first when I do it because it makes me feel like it's coming off, but if you're not pressing it in too hard and you're doing it softly, it works, and my makeup stays on. It stays on. Ooh, girl. Ooh, look at the girl. Okay, feeling myself. Oh, here come the lashes. All right, y'all. It took me forever to put these lashes on. This video, of course, is sped up and edited, so you're not gonna see the whole struggle. But I was struggling, and ultimately at the end, I just got so frustrated. I was like, I'm just gonna have to look like I got a little lazy eye child, and just left it for what it was. Look at me struggling. So, also besides your cosmetologist, if you're noticing anything, you need to seek professional help from a trichologist or dermatologist who specializes in alopecia, and especially CCCA, because like I said, there's not a lot of information on that. But if you can find a specialist that to ensure that you're being diagnosed correctly. So it's like a trichologist is an expert in human hair, from making it look its best through treating problems with your hair and scalp. So they are very much specific to hair and scalp. A dermatologist is a medical doctor who is trained to evaluate and manage patients with benign and malignant disorders of the skin, hair, nails, and adjacent mucous membranes. So we typically know what the dermatologist is. They are medical doctors, so they do handle your hair and your scalp. However, they may not be as trained in depth with it as much as a trichologist, because that's all trichologists study, and they probably know a lot more about Black women and their hair. So one of the main things when it comes to trying to see if you need to get that, if you're noticing that you're having a lot of hair loss, please go, if you're able, please go see a trichologist or dermatologist. Your cosmetologist is knowledgeable, but if you notice that your hair is still falling out even with the knowledge that your cosmetologist provides you, go see a specialist. And when you're seeing those specialists, be sure that you are honest with them, that you're actually telling them the practices and whatever it is that you're doing with your hair, so that they can best treat you. Because a lot of times we like to leave out information, what they say, omit information, so we don't look like we are doing something so bad. But we've all done things to our hair that might be stressing our edges and doing a lot of things. But the autoimmune ones, like I said before, the autoimmune alopecia is for the most part hereditary, and there's not much you could do about it. But if you still notice it, I do believe for some of them they do have steroid injections they could put in your hair. But be honest, go see a specialist, get trained and professional cosmetologists to do your hair, and you make sure they're not putting in those braids too tight. They don't have to do it that tight. Your hair is not made to do that. Okay, y'all, so this is the part of the video that I start back talking. I hope this voiceover worked for you all. I'm gonna work on trying to do the multitasking. I'm working on it. Oh okay. Okay. Ooh, when them lips get put on, that just sets it off. That sets it off. The lips set it off, baby. The lips set it off. Hey. Ooh, I feel cute. And let me do my hair. All right. I hope you all enjoyed this video regardless of the technical difficulties I was having. This was just a topic I really wanted to make sure that I touched. And if y'all like the makeup look, let me know. Let me know how you like it. I'm about to go finish up throwing some accessories and get ready to do the next video. So y'all make sure that y'all hit that like button if you like this video. Hit the subscribe, because you're here already. You might as well just press it. It's free. Just press the subscribe button. In the meantime, between time, be beautiful, be black, be you always. And guess what? Check out the video. It's gonna be a video right here. Check that video out. Go ahead and look at that. I mean, you're already here. You might as well subscribe and check out the next video. Talk to you later.